era. In the fourth turning, well, sorry, but fourth turnings suck. The fourth turning is a crisis, an era of upheaval. We're in a fourth turning right now. So let's take a look at our seculum, our history block. The history block that we're in the crisis of right now. Our high began after our World War II victory. By our, we mean America's. These are America's history blocks and turnings.
So I promised you guys a little while back we were going to talk about the fourth turning and its effects on the economy and possibly the MOAS going forward. And finally tonight, we're going to do that. So, before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
cue the speeder.
This is the way.
So let's take a look at our seculum, our history block. During a high, the getting is good. We had the most even distribution of wealth during our high. You could work at a gas station and afford to buy a house. This high is the period that the MAGA hats refer to. We got Hank Williams and Elvis and Little Richard and the birth of rock and roll. We launched monkeys and men into space. This is when the Mustangs and Corvettes first came out. Our high ended with the assassination of John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963.
good evening, Ape Nation. Guys, what's going on? It is Saturday, May 14, 2022, and this article here is from the New York Post. It's from Thursday. There's a new poll out from Monmouth University, and they said that economy and abortion are the top voter issues ahead of midterms. 4 in 5 say U.S. is on the wrong track, according to poll. The Monmouth University survey found that 26% of Americans say the economy is the top topic influencing their vote for Congress this November, while 25% say it's abortion. The poll was conducted after the publication last week of a leaked draft decision by Justice Samuel Alito that indicated the Supreme Court is on the cusp of striking down Roe v. Wade, the landmark 1973 ruling that legalized abortion across the country. Even with this whole SCOTUS thing in Roe v. Wade just happening in the last 7 days, still, the thing that's at the forefront of most Americans, 80% of their minds, is the economy. And we're going to talk about the economy and the crisis period that we're in right now, and its tie into the fourth turning.
Is thinking of history as a cycle and thinking of it as linear. And I would say that view of history as progressive is now a big competitor to the cyclical view. About this in Generations, we also talked it again in the fourth turning. And that is, interestingly, as we believe in linear history, we can iron out all those cycles. Weather cycle, forget it. You know, we'll all stay inside. You know, right. Dark light cycle. No, we got lights. You know, we'll just illuminate everything. So all of those nasty cycles we can smooth out with technology. But interestingly, what we found is the more we try to smooth them out, the more we often exacerbate the very kinds of cycles we're trying to solve. And
we're proud of that desire to smooth out those cycles. You know, it's fascinating to me because it's, as I said, it's so clear when you look at history that these cycles exist. And so what is it that drives us to try and smooth them out?
Control, hubris.
But this, particularly with reference to the business cycle, because this is key, I think, and has been. It's picked up pace since the 80s. You know, with the Greenspan Fed, this idea of hubris and control. And look, I've never met Alan Greenspan, but I've met plenty of people that have. And when you mention the word hubris, it's something that resonates with every description I've had of him as a person. And this idea that we can control this.
So Neil Howe there, one of the authors of The Fourth Turning, was talking about Alan Greenspan. If you don't know who Alan Greenspan was, he was the head of the Fed from 1987 till about, I think, 2006 or 2007. This article is from 2011. It's from Rolling Stone, and it's entitled How Alan Greenspan Helped Wreck the Economy. And let me give you a little background on what Greenspan did. In 2002 and 2003, the economy was still not recovering adequately despite the extreme rate cuts the Greenspan Fed initiated. Now, Greenspan thought deflation and overall decline in prices was a far greater worry than inflation, which could result in financial turmoil. And then it goes on to say the low rates between 2000 and 2004 were the lifeblood of the housing boom. Thousands of new mortgage brokers and 20 or so giant ones were vying with one another to sell mortgages to lower income Americans relying on particular or adjustable rate mortgages, ARMs, sold to home buyers with poor credit. A rapidly growing number of these were subprime mortgages sold to home buyers with poor credit. And you guys know the rest of the story here. Even the FBI warned in 2004 of an epidemic of fraud in subprime mortgage writing, but it had devoted so many of its resources to anti-terrorist activities, it had little left to pursue unscrupulous mortgage brokers. And guys, we find ourselves in almost the same situation today where the SEC is asking for donations for coffee, but we have $40 billion for armaments for Ukraine. It's absolutely insane. Greenspan knew about the loans. He was warned by associates at the Federal Reserve that abuses were mounting. He had the authority to investigate, but chose not to.
Wrong. Everyone fusses over the Fed, the Fed and central banks. Well, the yield curve, the steepness and the inversion is all the Fed. Just look at the real dynamics of the business cycle. What happens after a recession? Lots of liquidity, still lots of fear. Interest rates are certainly low at the year end. But suddenly, people begin to acquire new confidence. People start issuing a lot of new long-term debt because they have new long-term projects. They have projects during the most recent recession they weren't doing. They got to catch up. So the point is that you can see how early on in the business cycle, a steep yield curve is what you expect. Then go to the end of the business cycle. Well, what happens? All that risk is built into all the instruments now.
So again, that was Neil Howe back in 2019. Basically laying out exactly what we were going to be facing over the next couple of years. And we are in this time of crisis right now, guys. We're seeing it being fulfilled in the market every day. We see the inflation going up, GDP going down. We only need another quarter for our GDP to be negative, and then we'll be in official recession. And I know that there's a lot of questions out there right now about where this market is headed, where is the economy going? And all I can say is, historically, we have had bounces and rebounds, and everything does seem to work in cycles. Like Hal was saying, the more people try to smooth things out, like Greenspan and Yellen and Powell, seems like they do more and more harm because you can't put a square peg into a round hole. And trying to make something linear and progressive that just doesn't happen that way, doesn't naturally occur in that manner, creates problems. And we're seeing them right now. Okay, so I might get it down in the comments. Let me try and answer it ahead of time. What's up with all the doom and gloom? Is there anything we can take out of this video that's positive? And there are a few things. Hal talks about some of the leaders who will come out of this generation that we're in right now, that most of our peers are in. These leaders will arise out of the unraveling and the crisis that we're going through in order to lead everyone into the next high. And I think this generation will do extremely well economically going forward from how much they've been exposed to and learned in this short time period that we've all been together running through this short squeeze play. And ultimately, I hope the market dictates that these guys are going to get called on their bluff and they're going to have to start covering these short positions, and that will set off our MOAS. All right, guys, we're going to leave it there for tonight. It's getting a little late. We're going to try to get a live stream going tonight around 9:30. Hopefully, we can get on. I'll get this up in time. As always, guys, thank you so much for all the likes, the views, the comments. My new subscribers, my OGs, I appreciate each and every one of you. We are here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.